And good evening, everyone. Good evening over in the UK land and GMT space. Happy afternoon to everyone here in the US, and good morning over to everyone in the West Coast, the other part of the US. So anyway, good morning, hello, good afternoon, whatever, good evening. Today we're just gonna get jumping. I can't even talk, man. I've got no sleep. It's been nuts. So it's going to be crazy. So we'll just jump in. We'll get to this razor blade that we started on Monday. It's a 23 T bucket. We've changed the color from blue to orange, but we'll get into that. So let's just jump to it. So excellent. All right, so here it is. What I'm finding too with this awesome in the face new camera, it works really well. Actually, let me move it over a little bit so you guys can see what's going on. But I found if I'm too close, it doesn't focus. So there are limitations to this lens that's comes with it. But that should be good. That should be pretty well focused. Keep an eye on comments too as we go. So originally, just a quick recap. If you missed Monday, you can go back on Facebook and just go to Stephen Leahy Art, and you can actually watch the entire process up to this point. What happened was we have this cool 23 Ford T-Bucket that I got a picture of at one of the car shows. And I had already done a razor blade painting of another, it was a 32, I think, and it was also blue. So in order to kind of keep things, different, I guess, I ended up asking the Peanut Gallery on Monday night for a color suggestion for this, because I wasn't going to use blue for this one, and also red, because I just finished a red Model T for the show out in Salt Lake. So I wanted something different. So the consensus was orange, and so that's what we did. So we're swapping that over. So that's kind of what happened. And then what we did was just kind of cut out little bits and pieces from what I did was I made a number of photocopies that are scale from that photograph that I had taken. Took one of those, cut out the stencil for anything that was going to be orange, and we sprayed that in and did a little bit of work on the shading and that kind of stuff. So now you're pretty much caught up. So what we're going to be working on today is blocking in the motor and getting some of the details done with that. That's what I got. So this is this doesn't have a home yet. What I try to do, since the razor blade paintings seem to attract the most attention, it's funny, I say this all the time, they attract the most attention to my site, but when people buy things, they generally buy bigger paintings. So I don't understand that completely. You would think that the most popular thing would also be the best-selling thing, but it isn't, and that's interesting. But to my point, what I like to do is I like to always keep the razor blade kind of, a new razor blade every 2 to 3 months. Just try to get a new one out there, so keep everything going. Now, that's not to say that they don't sell, but like I said, the behind the scenes story seems to be the razor blades kind of bring people in, and then they go from there. So hopefully that makes sense. Oh, look, I'm missing all these awesome comments. Sorry about that. Jeff Noel, hello. Paul, Dan, Simon, Teresa, Mike's Brush. Mike, congratulations on your new compressor. Dude, that is an absolute monster. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 motors. So crazy. All right, awesome. Hello, honey. There we go. All right, I think I've got a bunch of people on there. And thank you. So one quick, actually, I'll switch over while the camera's here. One quick note, Mike from Mike's Brush has been amazing. When I switched over and created this new YouTube channel basically from scratch from my old one, Mike was great and offered a contest in the beginning to kind of help boost subscriptions. YouTube runs their monetization by not only the number of subscribers that you have, but also the total number of watch hours as well. So Mike was a great boost in the beginning of this to kind of get things back up to speed. So that's getting there. Still working on watch hours, which is great because it means I just have to produce more content, which benefits you guys. So that's all coming together. So I've had people ask about ways that they can help out. So obviously the number one way is if you purchase artwork, prints, 543s or the bigger original paintings, those are what run the business. So they don't specifically run the social media and all the content. I do reinvest a lot of the painting income back into this because we're trying to grow it. But the ultimate goal would be to I like things to support themselves essentially. So when I produce a print, I love that print will support itself and then produce income after that. So the same thing is true with the social media. So I'm putting a lot into it, and I love the community, and it's given me back a ton. So what we're trying to do is get it to the point where it also financially kind of supports itself. So one of the ways that YouTube does that is by monetizing their channel. So it will allow you to just make a donation. So if you see a video you like, you can send a thanks. My channel isn't there yet, but people have asked how they can help out. So what I've done on the website, my regular website, thestephenleahy.com, is I added a virtual tip jar there. So if you want to help out and you don't necessarily want to spend the money on a painting, you just want to buy a cup of coffee or something for me, that would be awesome, and it would be greatly appreciated. So that is on the front page of the website now. It's also for the people over on Facebook too. Facebook monetization has a star program where essentially you buy these stars and then you can gift them to the people you like, the people you're watching and following. That middleman kind of slows some people down, so they've asked if there's another way to do it. So that's why I did it. So it's there if you want. Please don't feel obligated. It's just a way that you guys can help things go here, because all the money that comes in for the feed gets allotted right back into the feeds. So all right, sorry about that. That was my little PSA for the day. All right, let's get to it. All right. There we go. Filled so quick. Steel on it. Mike, yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, that compressor. It kills me because I had a line on two double motor compressors. So the same, not the same size as that, but it would have been the same. I was going to buy them and use them for classes, but the place I was going to have the classes kind of dropped the ball. So that kind of ended up off to the side, so I ended up not purchasing the compressors, but I wish I had now. But anyway, that's a good one. All right, so let's get going. So actually, let me switch over. I'll show you the reference photo up close so that you guys can get a good feel for it. Paul, if I didn't say hello. All right. That one. This one, this one. What do I want? Media, there we go. I'm getting it. All right. So here is the reference photo. That's not the reference photo. That's the reference photo. Those are all the other reference photos. All right. So that's the reference photo. Now I took this photograph. It was originally, head on, the whole car, that kind of thing. So what I've done is I've cropped it, and I do all this in Photoshop. So I crop it and rotate it and just kind of work it around so that it'll make more sense on a blade. So obviously a razor blade has a hole in the middle, so I know I'm going to lose the middle of the painting. Also it has grooves, kind of notches on the sides, so I know I'm going to lose something there. So I try not to put anything overly important in there. That's why the motor is kind of shifted over to the right. So I'll lose one of the headlights and some of the wheel, but I've got the other headlight, the passenger side headlight, so I'll have that. I'll have most of the wheel. Those Kragers are really cool on this car. And I'll have almost all the motor, really. So that's kind of how it started. All right, let me switch it back to that one, and we'll do this too so you can see that. So you got everything there. All right. There we go. There we go. See if I can get comments over here. It might be a little bit better on the tablet since I don't need the photo. There we go. All right. Oh, thank you for the link for the tip jar. That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. What made me think of it was I have a friend who's a great musician. She's a piano player, and she runs a YouTube live every Friday, and it's basically like going to the bar to see her play, which is really neat. And that's how she does it. So she started it during COVID when all of her gigs were canceled, like everyone's were, and So yeah, so he has this virtual tip jar, and I'm like, that's brilliant, because I would go out to the bar, watch her play, have a few drinks, and she'd get paid, and the bar would get paid, and now none of that's really happening. Even now, it's slow to start. So I'm like, this is great. So it went so well for her that she just kept it going even after. Friday nights are her online gig. So it's really kind of cool. So that's why I thought of that. Anyway, let's get to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, and I know the Ford guys are rolling over in their graves, because the engine block of this car is painted blue as well, as Fords usually are. But I've changed the engine block in this to orange as well, because it wouldn't make any sense to have a blue motor in an orange car. I mean, it would, but I don't want that. It would just be, for the little bits and pieces of that motor that's going to be showing in here, it'll just be confusing. So I changed everything to orange. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take a look at the motor and pick the overall color, and that's going to be the way I'm going to block this in. Now, a lot of times the motors, the overall color, especially when there's a lot of chrome, the overall color is going to be black. In this case, this guy, I killed it. And it was a beautiful day. So with all that going on, this whole thing, the overall color is really a light blue. And then the details are left. So sometimes it's, overall color is black, and then I add the details, which are white, but in this case it's reversed. So that's kind of how I come up with that. All right. So eventually, I'm about halfway to the point of monetizing YouTube, which is nice. And again, huge thanks. Every time you guys watch a video, every time you guys comment, every time you guys like on one of these, it pushes all this stuff. And you've heard other YouTubers talk about this all the time. It just helps, drive the algorithm, and it tells YouTube that, hey, this is a video that other people should be watching, and that's how it gets pushed. So by you guys doing all that, that's really how that all is kind of moving forward. So it's increasing the watch hours. It's just having a great effect. But eventually, you'll get to the point where it'll be monetized, and you can just do your thanks. You can actually do you can send money directly by doing thanks. There are YouTubers like Mike who have the subscription-based part of it too. I don't think I can produce the kind of content that would warrant something like that. Mike gives all kinds of extras if you join the Skull Squad, which is awesome. Again, I can't, unless it really takes off and becomes something big. Right now I put about 2 whole days of the week into social media and the feeds and the posts and everything. And in order to do a subscription-based thing, I feel like I'd need to add to that. And I'm not quite there yet. So I think what it's always going to be is free, and it's just going to work like a farm stand. You throw your couple bucks into the bucket, and then that's how you kind of show your thanks. So, of course, like I said, it works out really well when it leads to people purchasing paintings. That's the goal. Really love to, I mean, selling paintings is what it's really all about for me. But the social media part of it is equally as much fun. So the small squad, that's awesome, honey. Yeah, the tiny squad probably doesn't have the same ring to it. Yeah, and that's it's because I've been looking into it. I've been looking into Patreon and all of that, and as things grow, it's definitely a possibility down the road. But I think at this stage, I'm just going to kind of concentrate on putting out good content and getting the views up, getting people on board, getting new people on board, and that kind of thing. So the Leahy squad. Yeah, exactly. And Mike, you do a great job at that, because anyone who has like that first lowest tier, it's just easy to do. My fear is that, again, that I won't have the content, the extra content to really warrant what I feel that would be worth. So I don't know. Again, it's something that might show up. But all right, so the pipes themselves. I'm going to do one of them. I'm not going to do all of them. The reason why I'm not going to do all of them is because it'll make these sections in between the pipes weak. They won't act really as a good stencil. And then what's going to happen is paint will get underneath, and I have orange under here, dark orange. And if I get the light blue and the dark orange, it means I just have to fix it. And I don't want to get into start. You know, the less I have to fix, the faster this blade goes. So I'm going to cut out just one of these, the front pipe maybe. Since really what we're doing is anything that's chrome is getting cut out now. Make sure you guys are in the right spot, yeah. There will be some blue in this. There's a Ford badge, a Ford logo right here. So that'll be blue, because I can't. It would be blasphemous to make the Ford logo orange as well. Yeah, exactly, honey, and that's it. You know, I watch a bunch of YouTubers, and you know, there's a lot. You know, especially the bigger ones like Mike, and then the big ones like I follow Adam Savage from Mythbusters, and you know, those big channels all have subscriber, like, you know, that type of thing, and that makes a lot of sense for what they're doing. Mike is again a great example of that. It just gives people a chance again to support the site without necessarily, you know, buying the products that they have. If you're just watching it because you like watching Mike paint, it's a great way that you can just kind of keep that going, because as Mike can attest, it costs to do this, whether it's actual investment like in the gear and that kind of thing, or simply just time. I mean, for me to shut down the shop for 2 days, the studio for 2 days here to do all this, you know, that's time that I could have been spending on actually painting, you know. So what I like to, and everything needs to be a win-win for me. So if I do something, it has to be a win for the studio as well as everyone involved, all the viewers or recipients. So you know, they make it easy to do that now. Simon, it's one of my favorite channels. I've always liked Mythbusters, and Adam's channel is just great. I'm addicted to it. So now when you have a channel like that, you know, that has 100,000 followers, it's, you know, it's a lot easier to generate a return on that, whether it's from actual donations or purchases. He has a lot of gear, you know, to buy on there, t-shirts and things like that. So that makes it a lot easier to have that. And then, you know, he also has special content, and because he has so many viewers, for him to have a premiere side of it makes a lot of sense, because he can't answer all the questions. So this is a way to kind of get it so that he can answer a specific section of questions, and those questions are coming from the people who have purchased the membership, which is, you know, it's a great idea. But again, that has to happen to a bigger channel, I think. All right, since I'm going to kind of help out kind of the works here by cutting out a few extra things. You notice I cut out the passenger side headlight as well, because it's far enough away from everything that I could get away with that. I could do the wheel. The wheel's pretty complex. I'm going to wait on that. And then also the interior of this car is like this cream colored. I could cut that out, but again, I'm going to be using a light blue, and I really want the cream color, so I'm going to leave that as well. Simon, absolutely, yeah, no, and that's it. But I mean, I follow a couple other people. One of them is Rick Beato, who's a guitar player, and I don't play guitar, but I really like his channel. I like the way he sets it up, and he's got, you know, he's got like 300,000 followers, and he never had a TV show or anything like that. So, and that's true with a lot of other, you know, really big time YouTubers. So, I love it. I love that just a regular person can just kind of, you know, put out really neat content and then make something special with it, like is going on. So it always excited me. So, all right. There you go, Mike. Exactly. Oh, and tonight's cheers. Today's cheers is coffee. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and it's not for anything other than weirdness. Like I'll wake up with the most bizarre dreams, and it's yeah, it's just crazy. so, um, so today's coffee to kind of keep the ball rolling. All right, so this template's all set now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lock it in. Now I love working on razor blades is actually easier than working on the ampersand boards. Because the magnets stick to the razor blades. So even though these are micro small, the magnets really do a good job on this. So I just want to make sure that it's really, really well lined up. So make sure everything's in a good spot. Oh, and I already lined this up, but I'll show you when I pull it off. I did... On the Monday night, I didn't do this passenger side fender orange, and I did the inside of the like the firewall basically, because that's a much darker orange. I didn't do that on Monday night. I did that on my own because I knew I didn't want to do that here. Because if you want to see the orange part, you can just go back and watch the Facebook feed. I want to make sure I had enough done so I could do the motor today. All right, and these, again, I showed these on Monday. These are the new magnets from Amazing Magnets. So I've bought these brass machine screws, and they are 1/4 inch. So I bought 1/4 inch magnets. So now, I made up for the fact that I didn't measure them when I bought these ones. I thought these were right. I thought they were 3/8, but they're not. So I got all my magnets covered now. Yes, honey, I knew you'd like that. It's the nearest Dunkin' Donuts. Now, I came from Dunkin' Donuts land. I grew up in Massachusetts. So we go from, I go from having, there are so many Dunkin' Donuts in Massachusetts that if you're driving down a street, you only have to decide which side of the street you want to pull in. If you're on this road, you want to go to the Dunkin' Donuts, it's on the right, so you just take a right. You don't have to take a left into traffic. That's how many there are. Like down where I used to live, there were 2 right across from each other. It was crazy. But here it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes to the nearest Dunkin' Donuts. So I stock up the Keurig with all the Dunkin' Donuts K-Cups and go to town. All right, so again, this is light blue. So I'm going to grab, what do I want to do? Well, I'll save the Micron B for the black because that'll be next. So I'll use the C for this. I'm going to take a little bit of white. So this is just Createx opaque white. I should show you the real bottle instead of the mixing bottle, which you can't really read that either. It's a new opaque white. And again, I keep saying this, I keep saying new. It's not really new. It's been out for a while, but this is the opaque white. Trust me, it says opaque white there. And I reduce it 1:1 with 4011 reducer. So there you go. And I pre-mix that, so I always have it ready to go for those who haven't been following. So I'll put some of that in here. And then the the blue. Let me move this, because that's in the way. I got to open up the palette here. That's right, you guys can see all that. I think I'm fumbling off camera, and I'm really not. You guys can see everything. Hello. All right. A little bit of blue. So I'm going to use phthalo blue, since that's the blue I've been using throughout this painting, and I still have some on the palette. And I'll say it again, this wet palette's been amazing. So I just dab that into the palette to get a little bit of blue on there. And I'm going to see how that works. And that works. Yeah, that's it. So I just want to kind of tint it blue. I could easily use white, just use straight white. But what that does is it doesn't give me anywhere to go. Like if I want to put a highlight on this, I can't, because it's as bright as it can be. It's as white as it can be. But if I make this blue, and I just add a little bit more blue to it, but if I make this a pale blue, if I want to add a bright highlight on this motor, which I will, now you'll see it. It'll stand up. So what's the difference between 4011 and 4012? So they had 2 types of reducers. One, the 4012 was called high performance originally, and it was meant for that. It was meant for tight detail and that kind of thing. The 4011 was just kind of their general reducer. So what happened was they improved the 4011 to the point of not needing the 4012 anymore. The 4012 was nice, but what it would do was every once in a while, if it was mixed, like especially with black, it would shock the paint and cause it to seed or look like it separates. So it was weird. It would turn into this weird jelly. So so eventually they improved the performance of 4011 to the point that 4012 became redundant. So they're just phasing it out. In fact, if you go on Createx's site, 4012 isn't even on the website anymore. So, does the little extra moisture from the wet palette add to the thinness of the paint in your cup? That is an excellent question, honey. So what it does is, and I mentioned this in the palette, so you guys can see it in the. This is the wet palette. It's replacing the liquid in the paint, and it's not, a big part of the liquid in the paint is deionized water. So what it's doing is as that stuff is evaporating out of the drop, it's pulling up the distilled water that I have underneath. So what happens is it changes the paint. So you're replacing all that good stuff with just plain water. So it keeps it open, and I try to keep it open. I use it for about a day, and then I'll just replace the drop. So hopefully that answers your question. It does keep it wet, but it keeps it wet in a weird way. The longer it sits on especially white, the longer it sits on the wet palette, the more water it absorbs, and then it gets really weird. It gets I don't know how to describe it. It just it feels like there's a cohesiveness loss to the paint. And that's why I don't reduce it with just stuff with just plain water, because I've seen what it does on the wet palette and I don't like it. So again, it saves it from drying right away. It's brilliant and I love it, but yeah, that's what's going on there. Good. Okay. So blue, now it's actually a lot darker blue, but still it's going to work out really well. And I'm just going to kind of hit this really lightly. Again, I get the magnets about as close as I can go. If I need, like on the top, I can't get a magnet to stick on there. So, but I don't want this color to get underneath, so I'm actually going to airbrush left-handed. So I'm going to hold it down with the meat skewer. I love this thing, man. This is one of those things. The meat skewers, these are just regular bamboo meat skewers you get at the store. I cut them down so that they're small and easily manageable. I use these to clean airbrushes, but one of the great things, because I use all magnets, I can't use like a knife to do this, to hold this down, or a dental tool, because they're steel and the magnets will just snap to it, but this bamboo is obviously not subject to that. So I can hold down the smallest pieces and then not worry about it sticking to sticking to the magnets, which is great. Again, just really slow, light. I bet you didn't know I could airbrush left-handed, did you? Just real slow, light layers. Let that build up really slowly. Especially near the edges. Actually, it's everywhere. I shouldn't say that. It's everywhere. I'm going easy. Thank you, honey. Yes, the like button is your friend. And if you're new, welcome. That's awesome. And, please consider subscribing and clicking that bell icon too. It'll keep you informed. I'm trying to keep a very regular schedule with the YouTube stuff, so that you know when I'll be here. But sometimes, like when I got the new camera, I jumped on a random day. So that'll just help you kind of keep up on things. Plus, if you forget that Thursdays are live, or Tuesdays or Tech Tuesday, it'll give you the little notification when you jump on YouTube, in case you missed it. Coffee stirrer to a point. Perfect, Simon. That's it. Yeah, anything like this will work. I like the bamboo because bamboo is really fibrous and strong, so you can sharpen this and it doesn't tend to break. Especially, I started using when I was cleaning airbrushes a lot, because for that reason, it didn't splinter, it didn't break. It just held up really well. Plus, they're super cheap. You buy a bag of 100 of them at the grocery store for nothing. I had this horrible fear when I'm doing this that this was in the wrong spot. I saw the bottom way it was lined up, and it was the way it was coming across the asphalt here, and it was on the asphalt, and I'm like, oh no, I just put this in the wrong spot. Yeah, there you go, Simon. Yeah, it works out. The bamboo is great. Yeah, it's great. All right, so I got all that in. Oh, you know what I missed? I missed the other little bits and pieces. So I'll just quickly line this up. This is easy to line up now because I just sprayed through it, so I can see where I'm going. I should be working on 543s for Monday right now, but this is more fun right now. I've got all 5 picked and ready to go. I just haven't started painting them yet. Sharpener with sandpaper razor. No, that's, honey, what I normally do is just take an old X-Acto blade, because they're all super sharp from, you know, here up. So I just kind of whittle them down like this, and that's how I get them sharp. You could, I mean, you could go nuts and sand them so that they were like, you know, surgical. But I find I don't, you know, don't necessarily need to go that crazy with them. And it's funny, you know, like I said, you buy a bag will last me years, literally years, because you know, unless I lose this, it'll never wear out. I mean, for what I'm using it for, I'm just kind of holding bits and pieces down. So yeah, works out pretty good. All right, headlight and the top piece here. So the other thing I'm going to do too, since I have my YouTube audience here, right now Open Studio, which is the Harley Davidson painting, and that's the, you know, the half-hour a week ongoing You See Everything video. Not everything, because you don't want to see that. Everything about painting video. I'm going to move that to Wednesday. No. Yes. I'm going to move that to Wednesday. Because I realized originally when I started this, there was no live feed when I set up the schedule originally. But now that the live feed is a definite thing and it's going to happen every Thursday, we'll spread it out a little bit. Now you won't have Open Studio and the live feed on the same day. So that'll give us content on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which will be nice. All right, that is good. I'll do that next week. So if you're looking for the Harley painting next week, it'll actually be a day early, which is another reason why it would be good to subscribe and click that bell icon. I'm going to see what I can do here. Move this out a little bit. See if, just make sure we got proper focus here. Here we go. Everything. Steve, yes. Well, see, so far, Steve, I could do that because you never get the shot below the waist here, so that's good. I could do, you know, everything pantsless. But again, you know, we don't want any strikes from YouTube for indecent exposure. All right. So I've got all the highlights, you know, basically the top blocked off. The next part to block off is this medium gray, right here. So on the side of the heads and a lot of the pipes and, you know, some of the stuff that's kind of tucked in. That's the next biggest area that needs to kind of be dealt with. So I'll do that next. Cody Adams, what is up? There we go. All right. What do I got here? I got the blue in here now. Can I adjust this blue? Oh, no, I cleaned it out. What a good boy. No, I didn't clean it out. It was in the other brush. Can I change this? I can. So I'm going to take the same blue, the one I just used, since I'm pretty much... No, I'm not done with it. See, this is what happens when you're sleep deprived. I'm going to move this over here for a second. I have to do the rest of the pipes now that I've got that part done. Those middle pipes need to be done, and the longer side of the pipes. Magnet in the way, there we go. Okay. So also what's nice about razor blades, when I do the copy sheet, I can fit 1 million of them on one sheet, so that's nice. Where 543s, I can only fit 6 of them on a page, so these, you know, I print 2 copies and I have copies for days. which is nice. Go, save those for later. All right. So this is where, there we go. Make sure that's going the way I want it to go. Good. So this is where kind of like, had I cut out these middle pipes here with it, that, you know, like I said, those other areas that are need to stay orange would have totally gotten underspray on them, because this is just too close. And what I can do with this one, I can follow it right out and do all of the side pipes here. So all of these I can get in one shot. If you have any leftover copies, do you keep them in case you want to do a redo of the painting, or how do you retire them? That's a great question too, honey. Yeah, I have folders for every single painting I've done. So those, any extra copies just kind of live out their lives there. It's rare that I need to use them again. I have, like especially on 543s, where I thought I lost a few of them. I ended up using those same copies to redo them. Or if there's multiples, like the police belt and the fire helmet were designed, and the Irish, the Celtic cross. Those, there were a few of each of those, so I did reuse them there. And but other than that, for like a real painting, like a big time painting, they just go in the file. And you know, someday, you know, if someone ever, you know, when I kick off, they're going through stuff, they'll actually have, you know, all the, you know, the backstory for all the paintings. All right, let's get this lined up. Oh, should I move this? Yeah, probably, before I get going on this. There we go. So I do hold on to them. Again, I don't know why. I really don't intend to ever use them again, but yeah, it's neat because I have a four drawer filing cabinet that's, you know, filled with all the paintings. It's pretty wild. What is nice though is if I sold a painting and say I forgot to do an info sheet on it, which is rare, but sometimes it happens, and I like forget the size that I did it, or the date I did it. I just started this one, but this is the file folder for this painting. I don't have the title on it yet because I don't have a title, but I'll just start writing info right on the. Do I have another one that's already done? That's close. I don't. So I'll start writing all the info right here, just jotting it down as I do it. So the type of wood the frame has, the size, you know, all that fun stuff. That way I don't have to, you know, I have all the info as I'm doing it. I don't have to kind of try to figure it out after. So I also write, you know, who it belongs to, if it's going for a commission or something like that. So, all right. So that is that. It should be in the right spot now. So it looks like I painted asphalt. Yeah, I painted asphalt where the pipes are, which is fine. In fact, the asphalt at the bottom I'm actually going to leave. I'm just going to paint the top edge of this, because what's going to happen is that asphalt that's left behind, which is right at the bottom of that, will actually be the reflection in the pipes. I'm going to need my meat skewer again. Yeah, Ian, mine is too. I can see it happening, so I don't know why that's doing that. Yes, Simon, not yet. Yeah, I'm not sure why the feed is choppy. We have a direct line in, so, and yeah, the cache is good too. So, And the data stream looks good too. So that's the nice thing about this switcher that I have. Oh, you can't see it. It's right off the side here. Oh, actually, you can see a little bit down here. This little switcher. On the business end of it, the screen side of it, the monitor, it shows all the feed health and everything. It's kind of a nice thing. So actually, I'm thinking of it. Let me check here too. Yeah, I don't know why it's choppy. I just checked YouTube too, and that seems to be holding up well too. So I don't know. Internet gremlins. Yeah, honey, it's not. I can see it on my end too, because I'm actually running the feed right off the side on my tablet here. All right, so there we go. So now what's also happening is the white is heavier than the blue, so the blue is coming to the top and the white is settling at the bottom. I could tell because that pipe is almost completely white. So what I need to do every once in a while is just remix that up by blowing through this. And you can see as the bubbles come up, they're almost white. That's no bueno. Yeah, Ian, Facebook is usually really solid, so I don't know, it could be anything. Something in space, maybe. Elon Musk just bought YouTube, probably. And now he's firing everyone. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over that because it was almost all white. And I don't want that because the other pipes next to it are the blue. But yeah, I thought it was just me too. I was already taking my aim at a router ready to throw a shoe at it. Nice. Yeah, I don't think it's you guys. All right. So yeah, so now as I pull it off, now they're all the same color. If I had left, I should have pulled it off so you could see it, but that middle pipe would have been white. So I just have to make sure I maintain that. We're good. We are good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. The other headlight is almost completely behind the hole here. Is it? Yeah, it's like right here. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Next up is that gray. So now I can take this blue that I just mixed up and I can add a little bit of black to it, and that's going to it's going to darken it up for the shadow parts of the motor, and that'll block all that, and then I can just start picking at the details. Well, the dark areas next and then the details. So I'll start with 1 drop of black, and this is reduced 1 to 20. So it's heavily reduced as it is, but because this is also reduced, I don't want to put in a real strong droplet of paint because it'll take it over. So I just put a drop in and then back flush it and look at it. That's still too light, but that's okay. I'd rather be too light. So we'll add 1 more drop of this. Nice, throw a slipper at it, honey. Take a look at that. That's probably still too light, but again, I'd rather sneak up on it this way. Yeah, it is. I'm going to add 2 drops because I need to cover some ground here. So, because I can see what it's doing to the color now by adding the 1 drop and then looking at it. So now I know that I can add 2 drops and get away with it. All right. Gary Shees, what's up, buddy? There we go. So that's looking good right there. So that's just straight gray. Well, gray with a little bit of blue in it. And I did all that, but I hadn't cut anything out yet, so we're going to do that. So I'll slide this back over here. And we'll cut out all the bits and pieces of the motor that are shaded. Good. Okay, so the side of the head here is that gray color primarily, and then all the lower parts of the motor here that aren't orange are going to be this gray, but not the pipes that I just put in. So we'll skip those, but do the whole motor area. Yes, and it is excellent. It is Gary's birthday, so happy birthday to Gary. Cheers to him. What else can I do here? All right, so now it's nice to see. I kind of want to just focus on the photocopy more than the reference, because this is nice. The reference photo is going to give me all the information on what all this stuff is, but really I don't want that. I just want to kind of pick out the gray areas. Yeah, I'll do this whole section right here. I say whole section, it's like a third of a grain of rice. There we go. Lots of birthday wishes for Gary. That's awesome. Okay. I will check the reference like on the top here. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. So I'm not sure if what I'm seeing is actually part of the car or not. Like, it's not. It's actually the car next to it. So I'm glad I checked that. Oh, and the bottom of all this is gray too. Bill, what's up? Bill, we had a lot of good rants so far. But I think we're on to the next one, so if you have a good subject, we're ready. All right. I think that's good. The gray shadow that's on the pipes, that's all going to be paintbrush. I'm not going to cut out templates for that. It's too crazy. Myself, person who's actually working before I was rudely interrupted by this notification. See, Bill knows how to get his notifications. All right, so the bottom, I think this is gone. The bottom half of the headlight housing, I think those are, I think this is in the hole of the razor blade, but this one over here is not. So I'll pull out that one. And again, I can use this color wherever it pops up. A Ford Razor, exactly. Sound familiar, Bill? Except yours is a little newer. All right, the gentleman painted a lot of the suspension black, so I think I'm going to do the same thing. I think that's all I need to do here. I suppose, Oh boy. Yeah, I was going to cut out the pipes because they got enough mass to them, but now I'm going to hold off on that. All right. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the license plate for this car. Usually, you know, I mean, unless it's going to the owner, but I don't know who the owner is. You know, the other thing I do is when I get a photo of a car at a car show, I will take a photo of the info card on that car as well. I took a photo of the card, but for some reason my autofocus was on and it focused on something through the windshield behind it on this road. So it's all blurry. So I don't have the guy's name. I think it's Dan something, but if I was home, I could probably, I mean, I'd probably see that car floating around. You know, it's hard to miss. But since I'm here, the opportunity for that is going to be much less than it would have been if I was still in Massachusetts. I suppose I could do a reverse lookup on his license plate, but that's kind of creepy. So I'm not going to do that. All right, let's get this in. Again, these things start to become easier and easier to line up because there's more bits and pieces underneath them that are painted. So I just got to make sure that it is lined up, though, still. I can't get lazy with it because then I'll end up being crazy. Because I can't promise. I don't even remember what day it is most of the time. So it's not like I remember to go look at things when they're scheduled. Exactly, Bill. It's funny you saying that because I was driving Marge's youngest to school this morning because Marge has been busting her butt and working and everything. So we were talking about that today. Like, I had no idea what day it was. I'm like, oh. Now what's funny is Marge's daughter woke up thinking it was Saturday, which is the worst when you're in school, to wake up on a school day and realize that it's not Saturday and you thought it was. But all right, so I've sprayed out a little bit of that gray, so I know I don't have any of the blue in here, and I'll just kind of do the same thing. Real light. kind of tack that all in. Lee, what's happening? Well, I'm glad you're done, Lee. Welcome. Kick back. Hang out. It's not, 2 in the morning for you, so that's good. All right, so there we go. So that's the gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gray for the shadow. I'm pretty sure by the look of things that this was like an overcast day. So it doesn't have a real dark shadow under this. Actually, should I? Nope, I'm going to wait. I was going to use that gray underneath for the shadow, but it's pretty dark under here. So I don't want to lose that texture. If I use this gray with the opaque white, it's going to also cause that, if I was going to do what's up here, I could get away with it. That's really faint. It's a nice faint shadow, but if I try to use that same gray back here, it'll just knock it all out. So we're not going to do that, but what we are going to do is switch to the paintbrush because we're at that point. Now, the other purchase I need to make, and Tim, John Luke Smith, was a blast trying to help me out with my camera on the Monday feed. Tell me which buttons to push on my brand new shiny Canon camera. I am going to get the camera ring that will allow me to use my macro lens with this camera. The macro lens will allow me to get extremely close and extremely focused. So since that's what we do around here, it'll just be nice to have that. Canon doesn't make it cheap though. That the adapter ring from Canon for the two lenses, if you go with the Canon brand, it's as expensive as some of the lenses for just the ring. So, but I've worked with this a few weeks now, and it's worth it. All right, do I have that floating around? Let me see. So Honey asked about saving the copies. This would be a good reason to save the copies. So here is the positive cutout for the background. So what I did was I used this cutout to spray in the background, and this went right in the folder when I was done with it. I could have easily thrown this little scrap of paper away, but I saved it, and that's a good thing, because what I can use that for now is to do that shadow. So I turn this upside down, and I'm doing this now because when I put the details on the pipes and things, I don't want to have to worry about, I don't have to worry about the shadow. The one thing I do want to cut out of this that I didn't originally is the space between the body and these pipes. It unfortunately missed it when I first cut it out, so I want to get it now so when I put the shadow in, I don't have to worry about it. See, now with the overhead camera, you can also see me looking for stuff, which I put stuff everywhere. One can be 3D printed. What are we looking at? Lee, everything can be 3D printed. That's the other thing I'm avoiding like the plague. I see what Mike does with his 3D printer, and I'm like, oh, I want one of those. But then if I get one of those, that's just one more thing. I was just talking to Marge about hobbies and things. Like I used to build a lot of scale models as a kid, and I'm trying like hell to get back into it, but it's interesting when your hobbies are also like your job. So what is that under there? I don't know what that is under there. I was just looking at the reference here. This guy right here, I don't know what this is. So when in doubt, just leave it. So back to the scale modeling thing. So it's funny when when your hobby is like your job, then it's really not like, because I think of a hobby as like if I'm an artist, a hobby would be like kayaking. It'd be totally different, right? Something different than what you do all day. But scale modeling to me feels like, I love it. I can't, I'm looking forward to getting back into it, but it still feels like I have fun doing all the art all day, and then I literally walk over to the other bench and then I start doing more of it in these scale models. So I don't know what I'm going to do. All right, so there we go. I got that little black area underneath the car done. That's the other YouTube channels I watch a lot are scale modelers. Svi Wheeler, who was on last Thursday hanging out, his friend has a great channel that I've been watching a lot of. There's a great guy down in Australia called Harry Houdini, who I've been watching. The guy's a riot. Built some cool models too. So that's been the other lately kind of thing. But it's funny, I probably watch more hours of YouTube than I do of regular TV. I did start to watch the Lord of the Rings series that's out now, which is very good. But it's about all the TV I watch. Other than that, when working on the computer, I have I just have the different YouTube stuff playing. Yeah, exactly. That's it, Bill. You got it. Yeah, it's nice, justifying, Bill, the purchases we make, isn't it? It's like, do you really need another airbrush? Oh, but, I kind of do, kind of don't. Not really. All right, so I've got that in there. Notice I just have one single magnet on this. I don't have to magnet the whole thing down because the shadow is really light, and if a shadow gets underneath this template, that's okay. It'll just, kind of add, it'll kind of connect everything. So make sure I'm in a better spot here, though. Let's see what we got here. Try that. Okay. So again, to get the shadow in now is when I can start doing like those suspension bits and pieces. When I get there, it's the shadowing is all done, and the shadow obviously is behind all that stuff, like that front suspension, the tie bar, and the same thing over here too. Now there's a spot above the bars that I missed as well. I mean the exhaust pipes that I missed on the side, but that's okay. I'll get that after too. Well, I should buy that airbrush. I could make a video about it or something. Exactly. So this, I'm going to make this a little bit darker than what it really is in the photograph. Again, because I'm not quite 100% sure really what's going on under there. There's something there. I should pull up the original photo, which I probably will do at some point, and to find out what that weird piece is there. Whether I can, leave it out or not. And that's a decision I can make along the way too. So it's not a big deal. And I've done that. If you guys look at the Corvette, that's not in the right spot. Well, that sucks. I gotta fix that now. Great. Because I wasn't paying attention. So see the gap between the front wheels and the shadow? That's not supposed to be there. So like what I was saying was the Corvette. All right, so that headlight's in the wrong spot too. So I did miss on that. That's okay. We can fix that. We can fix that. The convertible Corvette painting that I did last year. I really wasn't paying attention when I was doing that. So if you look at that painting, shoved between the two seats is the car cover, the white car cover. I just painted it in. I didn't really think about what it was. I just painted it in. So the owner, which is fine, he loved it. But the owner's like, so that's the car cover. I'm like, oh, no. It happens. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. These paintings are, an exercise in back and forth. So let me see if I can get this closer and still have it focus. Because again, this lens is good, but it's not as good as I thought it was. So I was trying to push it for the feed, and it ended up not working too well for me. All right. So what I've done is I put in the wrong spot. Now there's that odd gap there. So what I'm hoping, which I didn't see it in here, but I'm hoping I have the other side of that. Let me look real quick. It's okay if I don't, but if I do, that's going to make things go a lot faster. And I do not. Oh well. All right. So what I got to do is I got to make sure that I don't add paint where the shadow already is. I just need to put it where it isn't. So I can do that with handheld shields, or also known as little bits of paper. So I'm going to start with, say, the license plate. So I'm just going to kind of block off the bottom half of that, or the bottom part of the license plate, bottom edge. And then I'm just going to paint. Actually, I don't even need that magnet there because you guys probably can't see. Then I'm just going to paint on the template itself, on the where the real, the license plate is. So I'm going to block that bit off. Actually, I'll start under the wheel first, get that done real quick. So what I'm doing is I'm painting with overspray. So I'm painting on the paper, but I'm letting the overspray kind of bounce off the paper and fill that gap for me. If I paint directly on there, it's gonna go down. You know, paint is gonna go on there really, really fast, and it's gonna be, you know, a problem. So what I do is I try to just like keep off of that until what I'm doing is I'm catching that up. So I'm catching up where the gap is, and then once it's caught up, then I can go over the whole thing. So let me do the other little straight bit here. Same thing, I'm just letting that overspray do all the work for me until it's roughly caught up. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close enough. And I'll illustrate the theory of what I'm doing here in a second after I get it all done. So now I'm just going to grab another freehand shield. These are one of the small fire shields from Airsick Stencils. So I'm on a stencil tear again. So I'm looking at all these stencils that I feel that like Bill just said, last thing I need is more stuff, but this is really working out well. So these are the mini fire templates from Airsick, and they're just nice because, I mean, again, they're meant for doing real fire and stuff like that, but I just love the small curves in them. They just work out really well. Lee, so I just got a Canon M50 Mark II, and since it's a mirrorless camera, my DSLR is an older T4i Canon, so they have different lens mounts on them. So I have to get a mirrorless adapter, or an adapter for the mirrorless for the macro lens that I have. All right, same deal here. I'm going to move this magnet because it is in the way. I'm spraying right on the tire essentially, and letting that overspray just kind of kick out to get that out there. Now once I've got it pretty much caught up, now I can go over the whole thing and blend them together. And I'm going to show you the theory behind this in a second. If you just hang on 1 second for me to get that done. Good. So here's the theory behind all that. I'll do it on the back of this paper. And I'll use levels to show you instead. So say you had, you're looking at the side view now. So this is what you got. You got this essentially block, right? So what happens is here's next to the block. So what this represents is this is the paint that I just put down, and this is the gap that I have. So that the paint is darker here, and then there's nothing here. It's light here. So if I go and take my airbrush and I spray on top of this like this, what's going to happen is I'll put the next block on top of here, and I'll have one block here now. So what that means is this block here now is twice as dark as this one. So if I keep doing that, I'll never catch up. So what I've done here is, here's the block again, and you see where this is going now. So what I've done is I've used a shield to block the airbrush from hitting that block, so then I can catch up and put a block on there. And now when I pull the template away, I can spray the whole thing and even it all out. So that's the visual theory behind it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, good. So after all that, I was talking about doing the motor, and I ended up wrestling with the shadow more than I should have, but that's okay. There we go. So now the result is the shadow's a little bit darker than the reference photo, but at the end of the day, that's not a problem at all. It's not going to bother me at all. So now I'm going to make sure that this little guy gets put back with the other cut templates on the side here, so I don't lose it, because I'll probably use it again. What I can do here, so if say that really bothered me, say I really want it as faint as, what's going on here. See how light that is? Because it was like a diffused light that day, not a sunlit day like it's showing here. If I want to get back to that, it's actually a pretty easy thing to do. And I'm not going to do it, but I'll show you. So I've showed you guys how I do this asphalt. I just turn the air pressure down really low, the airflow really low, and it spits the paint out in, light colored dots and then dark colored dots. If I put this back on here in the right spot like this, I can go and put that spatter back on here and just lighten that whole thing up, and it'll lighten it up. So that's what I'll probably end up doing, but I won't do that now. So let's get to the motor. Let's put some of these details in. I think I can just go for it. So what I'm looking at right now is if there's anything else on this that I can block in on here to make my life easy, but it looks like it's pretty straight ahead. Actually, no, there are a couple landmarks that I want. Like the end of the head here is black. It's just, I don't know what it's reflecting off of. It's chrome, but it's reflecting off something here. And the bottom bits of the motor too. No, you know what? All I need is really that. So I'm going to cut that out real quick. I'm not going to use the cutting mat. I'm just going to go for it here. Because I'm lazy. Get that out of there. Okay, so I just cut out that little square out of there. So once I have this landmark, everything else will be pretty much where it needs to be. Make sure I get this lined up this time because I don't want to run through that again. It's in the wrong spot. And I have black still in the brush from the shadow, so I'm just going to kind of hit that. And it's right on the edge of the blade handle, so I got to really hold it down tight and then hope it doesn't bleed up, and it did not. So that's good. So that gives me enough stuff to work with. Okay. Are we having fun yet? Everyone asks, you know, when they go on the website or when they, you know, ask about the razor blades and then they want to, you know, buy one and they're like, well, you know, it's like the price is what it is because of this. It's like they're like, oh, it's so small. How come it's almost as much as all the other paintings? It's because it takes exactly the same amount of time to get them done. It's the same effort. It's just, you know, micro-sized. All right. Let's I start doing some details on this. I think we're at that point. No, you need to zoom in more. I know this monitor, I just got a new monitor too. It's not bad, but it still shows things a lot clearer than or not as clear as they need to be. So what happened with the feed on Monday was that I zoomed way in, but I didn't realize the camera couldn't really handle it. So what I'll do is I'll use, oh, you know what I could do? Could I do that? No. Try this. Even the display on the camera doesn't give me a great idea. Yeah, like I said, the macro lens is going to be amazing. Because the macro lens, I could literally have the camera like 2 feet behind me, but it's going to be like you guys will see like the grain in the paint. It'll be wonderful. All right, so what I do now is I'll start picking out the details, but I'll start from the landmark, a landmark, and that's how I do it. So the landmark was this little square at the end of the head here. And that's kind of where we'll start the journey, for lack of a better term, I guess. Put on El Glovo because I'm not going to really come in contact with this, but I might, and I don't want to get any oil on this at all. So I like I said, I got all the new gloves. So this is one of the glass handling gloves. So now it's relatively clean, but still, it doesn't take long for it to turn gray from all the overspray. So. All right. So what I'm going to do is, it's the same thing as blocking with the airbrush. It's just with a paintbrush now. So I'm going to start blocking in little areas that you know I see. So again, use the landmarks that are already there, like right above the headlight, and then again this reflection in the end of the head is a good one. It's a good place to start. So 2 things that, well, one I did not do. The other thing I'll do, I have the reference right above here, right up here. Actually, I'll zoom out so you can see. So the reference is right there. But what I'll also do is keep a copy right here. Again, if I look at this, I see a lot more information and I'll try to jam it in there. And when you do that, that's when things don't look real. So what I try to do is I look to see what it is up in here, but then look to see what it really looks like on this scale with the copy. So it's kind of a two-pronged attack, so to speak. Yeah, so that camera ring, I started looking at, like at all the stuff, and there is there's a knockoff, which I can't buy knockoff stuff. I know a lot of the stuff is probably even made in the same place, but I can't do it. So I'll end up going with the Canon version of that adapter ring and just be happier than even if I spent half of the money and got something that worked, but still. I never really liked the whole knockoff thing. All right, yeah, I'm having not difficulty getting going, but it's always slow at the beginning because there's so much stuff to be put down on here, and I kind of get, it's weird, I kind of get overwhelmed a little bit. I don't know where to start. So sometimes when that happens, you just pick an obvious thing and just start there. So it's just getting the ball rolling essentially. So what I'm going to do is there's a separation line between the corner of this head and the top. So again, it's a simple line, but it's a good place to start. It gets me started on this. Oh, there's one on the bottom too, so I'll get that too. And as soon as this feed is over, then I turn around and jump on the 543s for the week. And it's another great group. And yeah, oh well, Honey's here, and whoever else was there on Monday. Man, it's supposed to be getting easier as the week goes on or the year goes on because there's less people in the to win pool, so to speak. But damn, 2 weeks in a row, I've screwed this thing up royally. So last week, or a week before, I announced the wrong number. So I did the random number generator, and I ended up pulling the number, but then I said the wrong number. So that was fine because I just ended up giving away 2 paintings, and that worked out well. One of the winners was Matt Nelson, and so it was great. Matt won. That was good. We talked about which painting he wanted. That was great. I didn't move his name over to the winners list for the following week. So his name was still on the list last week. And of course, whose name do you think came up? And I'm like, congratulations, Matt, you won. And Matt wasn't on to say anything. So the whole feed went through and that was it. And then afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute. Matt, what? And that was that. So I ended up drawing another name, which also was good. But 2 weeks in a row for this was nuts. So I think we got our crap together now. Another oopsie, right? So again, oh man, it would be so nice. I don't know if it's going to happen. We are down to like 6 weeks left. 7 weeks left before the end of the year. And this week I had 23 people on the list. So now the numbers, don't really work out. But I'm really hoping, like when Ian won, that was amazing because Ian's been, all you guys and girls, you've been on forever. And I really, I appreciate it. And the goal was to get all the regulars, to get all the regulars a win. But it still has to be random. I can't just do it. So, choose the winner. So it was nice when, it'll be nice if we can get a couple more real regulars the win. All right, so I've moved down into the pipes here. It's like I said, I find myself, this is where the journey really starts happening for me because I come in with a plan like, I'm going to do the motor, but then, the painting leads me in other places. And it all works. As long as I'm covering ground, I'm doing good. There's a bunch of, actually I should have blocked in all this under here, which I can do after. It's not a big deal, but it looks like he painted the frame of this car black. So all of the frame work under here is all black, which probably should go in, so I have an idea where it all is, but work on this for a little bit since I had paint in the brush. Exactly, yeah, honey, that's exactly it. Like, it's just nice to, you know, it would be nice if, like, all the real regulars win before the reset. And then that's the idea. So on January 1st, the whole list resets. So if after that, previous winners can win again. So that's how it works. And then I did that just so that, you know, the people who have already won have a reason to come back, you know. Again, I'm all about a win for everyone. And that's a good way to do it. Because I appreciate it. You know, people like Honey and, you know, will continue to give suggestions, and that's the whole point. If the winners stopped giving suggestions, we wouldn't have a very big list of paintings to choose from. And but that's never happened. People have been all over it. That's great, Bill. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. She is cranking. I will. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'll go live at some point from her show once it's up and running. It's really something else. Like, she's just going nuts. Plus, she's saving the world by building, you know, circuit boards and stuff. So she's all over the place, but she's doing it. So the show opens the beginning of December, and then she graduates in middle of December. So super exciting time. And then, of course, her instructor, the woman who runs the sculpture department, wants her to continue on and get her master's, which is pretty exciting. Thanks, honey. That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting, Bill, how, you know, it's funny with her timeline, you know, and the way she does things. I mean, she's you know, definitely, you know, airbrush has always been a big part of what she does. That's how her and I met. Um, and yet the sculpture thing, you can see the ties, the direct ties. It's her overall creativity that's impressive, and the way she approaches her creativity. It doesn't matter what tool she has in her hand, whether she's, you know, making a sculpture or airbrushing or drawing. You can see that same, like, the artists try their whole lives or struggle their whole lives to find, you know, the style when it's inside of you all the time. And she's the perfect example. You can tell everything she does, no matter what medium it is. It's neat, and it's only because she has her sensibilities. So it's going to be exciting to see the whole thing all together. So again, just kind of bouncing around. I'm realizing things as I go too, and this is part of it. Like, I've got this firewall kind of painted in, but the firewall it's actually, you can see it, and I notice this now. I just have a feeling that's not focused. Do you think it is? It looks like it is. I don't know. It's weird. Whatever. We'll figure it out. All right. What I was saying was, like, the firewall comes down, you know, behind a little bit farther down than I have it. So what I got to do is I got to just kind of adjust for that. So I'm going to pick a orangey base color. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be somewhat orange. And in this case, it's almost like a skin tone. Because what I have to do is I have to, again, same deal. I have to catch up that area that doesn't have any orange on it first. If I just paint this with orange, it'll never catch up to what's above it. And since I have this in here, I can kind of skirt around and make sure I got any other areas that may have this that I missed. which looks, actually this looks good. All right, so kind of see what I did there. I just put that, again, I blocked it in. I added the, wow, that's super wet. I added the base color there, so now I can go in with the red oxide, which is also really orange, and I can just kind of like finish the job. And the red oxide pushes it more towards the what the color really is. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, Bill, she's yeah, she's doing some really neat stuff. I've always loved her drawing style, and I'm envious, like Rod Fuchs, I'm envious of their sketchbooks. Just she's great. She has this engineer type quality to, well, certainly to the way she writes, but definitely to the way she kind of breaks things down and plans. And what's nice about it is the way she works. You would think that the project she's working on is going to come out exactly like the plans she's drawn up because they're so exact. But she has the ability to like pivot and allow different things to happen, which you, again, if you look at the sketchbook, her sketchbook, you'd think there's no way it's going to come out exactly like this. But that's one of the cool things to watch, like as the pieces, especially the sculpture pieces, because they physically change as you go because of time constraints or physical constraints or whatever. But she's able to kind of pivot, and it's really fun to watch. So what's here? The distributor cap is in the back here, and it's this big mass of wires. And it's what I missed when I had the orange. It kind of didn't go down far enough, because what I was seeing when I originally painted that in was I saw that mass as a solid mass, but really what it is it's all the spark plug wires coming off of it. And so I saw it originally as a solid mass, but it isn't. You can see behind it. So just going to do some adjusting on it. Now the question is do I put blue spark plug wires? Now see, if it was my car and I had an orange car and everything was orange, I would have orange spark plug wires. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It doesn't make much sense to have blue spark plug wires on an orange car, I guess, and the only blue on there. So in that case, I'm going to add a little bit of white, because the orange doesn't stand. The orange is pretty transparent. Even the opaque orange, when you reduce it way down, doesn't stand up. It's just the pigment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting in these spark plug groupings, the wires, with white first, and then I'll just tint them orange in the end. Oh, Bill, that's awesome. Yeah, she's yeah, I agree. The stuff she comes out with is great. And what's neat is watching her do her thing, because she also has the airbrush chops, and she's tied in with, the products that specifically made for airbrushes, but she uses them across the board. It's neat to see how she takes those things and just, uses them in a way that is completely different. So it's a lot of fun too. All right, so again, all these spark plug wires that run along the edge here are beautifully tied together. This guy did a great job. So this is a little bit thicker than it should be in the end, but again, I'll carve it down once I get it in an orange enough. And this is a big 350, so there's 4 on each side. So you'll see these 4, but you won't see the other 4 on the other side, obviously. And then they reflect in the side of the head here too. So I'm just going to paint that whole thing white right now. Give myself something to stand on. I've got all the wires up top there too. Yeah, so she's gonna, she's basically, what she's doing is she's cranking, her more than 40-hour-a-week job. Actually, I grabbed the wrong orange. No, I didn't. And then she just drives to Kent. So, and then she's been doing that on the weekends too, and just going nuts. So it's a lot of work, to get the whole show done, but I'm confident that she'll be there. So this is straight opaque orange. And now what I do is I just go over those the white lines. And, you know, especially up on the firewall here, you can kind of see, now you can see those wires. If I just put orange on there, obviously it just wouldn't show up. Same thing down in here. If I just put the orange on the gray primer, the base coat sealer, you'd never see it. You'd never see it. It would be like a dirty, I don't know, like a dirty brown color almost. There we go. That's good. So I'm going to let that dry because I put it on pretty wet, so it flowed out, so it wasn't real, you know, so it didn't have a lot of streakiness to it. So I'm going to let that kind of relax for a little bit. So I missed something too, which I can take care of now. There's a reflection of the body in the top of this head too, right here. So I'm going to handle this exactly the same way. So first I'm going to paint it in with white where that is. And I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll just hit it with orange after. So what I think I'll do, let me kind of work on this area where all the spark plug wires are, and then and I'll probably call it there again because I haven't even touched the 543s for this week, so I do need to get jumping on those. All right, so first thing I'll do is I'll put in looks like wire clips that hold all the spark plug stuff together. And then now what I can do is with the dark details underneath or behind that, those dark details are what I'm going to use to kind of carve those spark plug wires down to their final width. All right, so before I do this again, because it's super tiny and it's difficult to see, whenever anyone asks, how do you do that? This is how I answer them. Let me move this and this, because this is worth showing as well. I need 2 pieces of paper, which these copies will work very nicely for that. Okay, so say I needed to paint a really microscopic line, right? Or detail or whatever, just something really super small. But say my paintbrush was this wide. So here's my paintbrush, right? That's how wide it is right there. But picture this paintbrush was this wide here, like a flat brush like you'd use. Okay, so this is the size brush I have, but I need to paint a super, super tiny line with this. Now, obviously, I could try to paint it like this. I could hold a brush at like this and try to get that, but if you've ever used a paintbrush, which a lot of you have, you know what happens when you try to get the line this way with a flat brush. The bristles are going to spread apart, so it's going to make a mess. You're not going to get a super tight line that way. So the brush itself is big, but the edge of the brush is infinitely small, and I'll show you what I mean. So the first thing I'll do when I go to do one of these details, like I did with the wires here, is say this color here is the ultimate color I want, this messed up color right here on the board. So what I'll do is I'll take my brush and I'll paint that color first. So now picture just a swipe, and now I have this color here. Then what I'll do is I'll take the paint of everything that's around it, and then I'll make a paintbrush stroke like this. So now I have a paintbrush stroke with this, say, white color, and then I have this neat color that I really want the line to be in the end. And then I'll take the paintbrush again and do another swipe on the other side, creating as fine a line as I could possibly imagine. And again, the edges of this are infinitely small because I can, if I'm careful enough with that big fat brush, I can move this even closer with that big fat brush and get like a super fine hairline out of that. And then say I want a really tiny square, right? I could do that, paint that line, paint this line. That's the color I'm going for in the end. And then I'm sure you're already figuring this out. I don't have enough copies to do this. Yes, I do. Then I'll take a paintbrush swipe and go this way. And then take a paintbrush stroke and go this way. Now I have this little tiny square by using this huge brush. And the same thing. You're only limited by how talented you are with the edge of those strokes. So if I get these strokes a lot closer to one another, even with that big fat paintbrush, I can get a perfect square that's micro-sized. So that's the theory. And it's rinse and repeat over the entire painting. That's really how it works. It's back and forth. And this is why I can't paint what I do with totally transparent paints, because you won't get that coverage. You know what I mean? So that's how it works. Honey, what do we got? When she's all done, she's going to need a massive day of pampering. Honey, what about me? No one ever thinks about me. No, you're absolutely right. No, what she really needs to start is about a week's worth of sleep. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to take over everything, and she's going to sleep for a week. So, and after that, we got kayaks last year and never used them because we were both too busy, and that's a shame. So we just talked about that this morning. We want to do stuff. We want to lighten the load a little bit and do more stuff, just hanging out. So eventually, when she graduates, and like I said, it'd be nice for me to have a little bit of, like especially with passive income coming in, like we talked about at the beginning of the feed, with the social media channels and stuff. That's going to lighten up a little bit of time for me that I didn't really have. So same deal there. So it's just going to allow us to do a few more things than we are doing now, which we need to do. And it's so funny, Marge's girls are both in high school. One's a senior, graduating this year. The other is still got a couple more years to go. My kids are not only graduated, but one of them's married. They're adults. So it's strange being like right back into it. So, and I know how busy that is. So I know that as her girls kind of get out there and do their college thing and, get all that, Marge is going to have more time as well. So, it's just interesting being kind of right back in it. There we go. Bill's saying, just thinking that's a video trying to show folks mixing opaques take a lot of the danger out of things. Yeah, exactly. The ability to do the difference between a level 8 and a level 9 value is pretty hard to do transparently. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, I grew up, some of my most influential artists in my life were watercolorists, and so I have that transparent paint mentality a lot of times, but like I said, this is how the whole painting system that I do with these mini paintings relies on having an opaque part component to the system, to the way that it works. Now, not all of it, like you saw, just the fact that the orange worked on that white, that's a transparent thing. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of the two. It's just being stuck in one or the other that would have been a problem for what I do. Like if I only had like candies, for instance, it would be so much more difficult to do what I do. So there you go. So I've just kind of locked those in. Quality time with each other would be necessary. You are always sharing your time with us. She'll need Steve time too. Yeah, definitely. I think that's part of the part of getting it all done is really that balance. Plus, this has been the 22 has been a really, both challenging and crazy year, good and bad. Passing of my dad, the wedding of my son. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. So it will be nice to have a moment where it's a little less everything. So anyway, so there we go. So that's what we got done so far. And you get the idea, I think. And it's just, picture that, but everywhere. That's what it's going to be. What's neat is, though, let me back you way out. Back you way out here. So you get kind of a far away look. There we go. So still from far away, though, something's going on there, and that's the whole goal with these razor blades, that they grab you from far away and draw you in. So the idea is that you can still, even from like 3 or 4 feet away, as you walk by in a gallery or, as this hangs in a house or a collection, you want to see something going on. Again, the most successful blades that I've had have been blades where you can tell what they are from a good distance. Again, what we talked about on Monday, that the most technically challenging ones were like the New York, like the Manhattan. You can't tell what that is. If I show you, it's in the file right now. But the Grand Canyon razor blade, it looks great up close, but you can't tell what it is from a foot out. It looks like an orange razor blade. So, it's something that just kind of works really well, as you get into it. But there you go. That's what we got. All right. So happy Thursday to everyone. Thank you for dropping by and hanging out on this Thursday. We'll do this every Thursday. And then again, Open Studio is going to be changed to Wednesday next week. And from Wednesday on. So that way we'll have content Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which will be really nice. And I've kind of let the time-lapse thing kind of fall off a little bit. And that was done at first, not intentionally, but afterwards now it's intentional, because I think producing 3 videos a week for YouTube is going to be plenty. And then again, if it continues to grow and it needs more, we have that option. But for now, I think those 3 will keep things going. Plus, if you can't get your fill, there's Monday night on Facebook. So there's a lot of social media stuff going on. That's what I got. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your likes and your comments. And thank you for indulging me for this. This is a blast. I like it. Now I'm going to go paint some 543. So if you want to see what those are, jump back on Monday on Facebook, and we'll show you what they are, and it'll be fun. So that's what I got. Oh, yeah, I'll leave you with the photo of the car, but usually I switch it back to the title screen, but I'll skip that this week. So have a great weekend, guys. I will see you next week. And again, drop by Monday and we'll have some fun. All right. So for Steve Leahy and whatever we're doing, Thursday Live, thank you. And I'll catch you guys again.